There's still 4 minutes left in this game, but I see AJ Lawson on my screen, and I see we're down 22, and I can read the writing on the wall. You know what I mean? Jaden Hardy's probably going to come in and have like an efficient 6 points. I have no idea. I'm not watching the game anymore. Frustrated is probably the right word for me right now. As you can see by this pennant back here, if you're a Thunder fan and you're looking for Thunder perspective, probably not here. Y'all played a really great game, to be honest. And Twitter is going to lose their mind over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting to the free throw line 11 times in the first half, which I get it. I get it. It's like very frustrating to watch. But this is what Shai has been doing all season. What did we expect to change in the playoffs? He gets to the lane, he flails a little bit, and he gets good foul calls. That's what he does. And not only that, but he was efficient from three today. He hit 2 big step-back three-pointers when the Mavs were going on a run. And it's just, that's what star players do. Like, I get that at halftime, we were down 9 points and they had shot 9 more free throws than us. And that's incredibly frustrating. But we were also hacking when they got into the lane sometimes. And I agree. Like, I was so frustrated watching Shai, like, especially early second quarter where he would get to the lane and not even really try to put up a shot. He would just get touched and fouled, and that's frustrating. But again, like I said previously, that's what he does. He's been doing this all year. And he's efficient from most other places on the floor, so that's why he's a dangerous weapon. What I really want to talk about is, and the Thunder played a great game. J-Dub showed up when he needed to. He went back to the locker room for whatever reason, came back and was just lights out. Hit 2 big three-pointers to just put this game away, to be honest, and early on in the fourth quarter. He had that dunk on the baseline on P.J. Washington. Not on him, but he went around him. And then he had those 2 three-pointers that were tough three-pointers, especially after Kyrie had hit one on the other end. Very tough shots, showing a lot of maturity for a guy that, doesn't have a whole lot of experience in the playoffs. I mean, he has 1 series under his belt, It's something I want to bring up about Luka because he has been, how do I put this, bad. It was really tough to watch. He looks hobbled. He looks like a liability on defense. He looks like his three-point shot isn't falling because he's stepping back and his base doesn't look correct, so everything is either short or to the side. I don't think I've seen him miss one long that looked good, Like, most of these are bad misses, left or right of the rim misses, short misses. He opened the second half with a step-back 2-pointer that barely drew rim, and I was just like, that kind of encapsulates how I'm feeling about him right now. This is a stat from Tim Cato of The Athletic. I feel like it encapsulates what we're seeing from Luka this playoffs so far. Luka has shot 45 of 118 since his Game 3 knee injury last series. That's 38%. Other defenses that have spent 6 years baffled on how to guard him suddenly learned how to overnight, or it's really affecting him. And I'm going to go with the latter. Now, I'm not saying that excuses like the 6 step backs this game that had no fucking chance of going in. I mean, that's borderline shot chucking, and we're not talking the good kind of shot chucking where you're LaMelo Ball and the Hornets. We're talking about deflating shot chucking and then getting cooked on the other end, and it's like, how do I defend that, right? Like, how do I see the way he played this game and be like, we'll get him next time? I think a lot of analysts that were picking this series really thought it was going to be in 6 or 7 games, and that's still totally possible. I mean, I think the Mavs will play better, especially when they go back home. I hope they steal Game 2. I mean, we looked really bad in Game 1 of the Clippers series, and Jason Kidd historically is just ass in Game 1s, like, as far as making adjustments for a team before he can see the matchups. Like, he's just not very good at it, and we just signed him to extension, which, not my decision, but, I guess the grass isn't always greener. Frustrating loss, though, and Derek Lively did not look very good tonight. He had a pass to Tim Hardaway Jr. that just went right out of bounds, and Tim Hardaway wasn't even relocating. He was just standing in the same spot. He also had a 3-second call that was kind of deflating when we were on a run. He had a couple of fouls where, like, yeah, I mean, they weren't really fouls, but you kind of brought your hands down, and that's just like a rookie center mistake that we don't see him do very often. Like, we don't really see him make those kind of rookie center mistakes a lot of rookie centers make when they first enter the league, and that's why it's kind of disappointing because it's like we've seen him look like a mature center for the majority of the season, and no one's going to beat himself up more than Derek Lively. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to sit here and criticize him, especially all he's been through this season and going into the playoffs. Like, I'm not mad at the guy. You know what I mean? It's just like not a great game. Kyrie Irving showed up. He feels like the rock of this team right now, just constantly shows up. He had a big 3 to go into the fourth quarter where it was like, okay, we're showing a little sign of life, just a little, but we are showing a sign of life. And then that just kind of got squashed. I think our defensive rotations were a bit slow today. I understand that OKC plays a very heavy motion offense that makes it very difficult for the Mavericks to guard them. I mean, we watched the Mavs play the Pacers pretty much back-to-back. It was like a couple games in between during that losing streak they had after the trade deadline where they played the Pacers twice. And the Pacers kind of just fucking destroyed us. And the reason why they destroyed us is because they're young, athletic, have a lot of wings, guards that move the ball very well, and they run a motion offense. And I thought when I was thinking about this series is it's either going to go one of two ways. Either Dallas is going to impose their will on the inside, and that's going to be the deciding factor, or Thunder's motion offense is going to be too much for the Mavericks to keep up with. And as of right now, in Game 1, it looks like the motion offense is too much for the Mavs to keep up with, especially if Luka's going to not move outside of the paint or just like move 5 feet on defense. Like, it just looks like he can't do it. It's obviously not an effort thing because we saw him do it in the Clippers series up to that knee injury. And, we saw so many compliments of him in Game 2 and 3, specifically Game 2 of him moving his feet and staying in front of guys and like, oh, he's a much improved defender in the playoffs, which is absolutely true until you factor in the fact that he sprained his knee. And then it's like, he just looks hobbled and bad. He's performed poorly this playoffs, which I know he's fucking pissed about right now because that's how Luka is. But when he's not playing his game the way he wants to and he's frustrated at factors that he cannot control, whether it's the refs or his injuries or sometimes his shot is just not falling, it sometimes affects the other players on the team. When you watch Luka get frustrated and not get back on defense, it doesn't necessarily affect the psyche of the players, which it might. The morale might be low. But the in-transition defense, especially off turnovers, was pretty atrocious, especially when Luka was on the floor, which was the majority of the game. It just felt like there were a lot of 3-on-4, 4-on-5 situations. And it honestly felt like sometimes in the half court we were playing 4-on-5 when Luka was playing defense. And that's coming from a guy that thought Luka played great defense in the Clippers series for the majority of the time. And it really looks like this injury is kind of taking the wind out of his sails this playoffs. And that sucks. Because, what can you do about injuries? Like the Bucks, that's the reason why I didn't tear the Bucks down entirely whenever they lost to the Pacers this year. It's because Giannis didn't even play. You know what I mean? Like, what are you supposed to say to the Bucks without their best player? What are you supposed to say to the Mavs when Luka looks like a shell of himself? And I still think there's a chance the Mavs can pull the series off. It just doesn't look likely. Like, when I was going into this game, I was anticipating the Mavs to show a little more dominance down low. And Gafford imposed his will for most of this game. He looked great. I've had some things to say about Lively, but at the very least, there was nothing easy. But that didn't seem to matter at the end of the day because the Thunder were humming. They were moving the ball. Aaron Wiggins had a great game. I thought he was great. I heard a stat that he averaged 6 points last series. I swear, like, you would have never known in this game. You would have never known. You would have thought he was low-key their third best player. He had 16 points. He was a plus 18. He was 3 for 4 from 3, 5 for 7 from the floor, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He was ultra efficient, played good defense. He was active. I can't believe he only played 23 minutes. He should have played 30. Like, that's how good he played this game. Yeah, just not a great start to the series if you're the Mavericks. And kind of, I don't want to say, no, I will say disappointing. Not because the Mavericks didn't perform up to their standard, which they didn't, but because I don't really see a path in which we can win this series if Luka continues to look like this. If Luka looks like 30% of his usual self, not only are the narratives going to be gross, especially next season when we talk about MVP and we start having the conversation about Luka and Shea, and they're picking Shea over Luka in a lot of the MVP conversations because of this series if we end up losing and Shea has a great series and Luka continues to be, frankly, ass. That sucks because he's so obviously injured and doesn't look great. And I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy, but if you've watched Mavs games this season, he looks really bad. So shout out to the Thunder. They played a great game. Aaron Wiggins, again, a great game. Shea did what he needed to do, and J-Dub showed up when he needed to. And Chet, honestly, played great rim defense. Like, he was hounding the ball whenever people were around the rim. Again, not a great start to the series if you're the Mavericks. We'll see how they respond in game 2. The adjustments I would make is probably never run small ball ever again, because that's when we kind of completely lost control of the series. And I get Kidd was just kind of throwing things at the wall and hoping it stuck. But yeah, we're not doing that again. And Gafford should probably play 30 plus minutes. Played 27. He should probably play 32. 34. My phone cut me off there at the end because I have no storage on my phone, but y'all take care. Have a good one.